So even if
Okay,
Kathy
so
can
let
see
me
us,
maybe in the chat.
okay, 42 of you already here. Thank you. Ah, that's fantastic. Okay. So I'm going to leave it to Ambrina and Georgina to try to figure out the interpretation. In the meantime, I will slowly start so we don't lose much time on waiting. I have shared the screen with you, and I just want to confirm that you can see the slide, Demystifying Google Apps. If there's any of you who would be willing to just let me know very quickly in the chat that you can see the slides properly, I would really appreciate it. Perfect, fantastic. Okay, and we try to share the slides with you before so that you have access to them and you can access the information and links if you want to try that, or print it as well. And as usual, this is the session overview, so we can do that with even without our interpreters yet. Really what we are going to do is just to remind everyone that this is our third session. And after we finish the sessions for this, they will be posted on MTML website. For sure the slides, and I will have the links for you to the slides at the end of the session as well. And I think recordings will be added to the MTML website as well. So keep that in mind, that you will be able to access that information from the MTML website. So Kathy is telling us that she's not the interpreter. So Kathy, I'm just going to remove your co-hosting permissions.
Sorry, Monica, I just wanted to add that these videos will not be added to our MTML website. We're working on a new website.
Okay.
So we will be let everyone know it's going to be a digital literacy library. So it's going to be a different website. Yeah.
Perfect. And as you are just quickly catching up, I can see we have our first ASL interpreter. So I'm just trying to promote my right there. ASL make co-host. Aha. Make co-host. Hopefully that worked. Yes. ASL interpreter. Perfect. And for our, there is the second one. So hopefully that will work. We apologize for the logistics, the usual with those things. ASL2, where is my ASL2? As soon as we clarify that, that way everybody on the same page with the information. So let me just, because as soon as somebody else joins in, I lose my list. There we go, ASL2, make co-host. Perfect. Both of our interpreters now are co-hosts, so should be able to turn on the videos and pin themselves as well. So hopefully for our ASL interpreters, can you confirm that you're okay with that? Because I still don't see you on our list. There we go, perfect. The first one is here, fantastic, thank you. I just wanted to make sure that we are on the same page. Fantastic, okay. So going back to our slides, this is our third session. And as Ambrina was just clarifying a bit earlier, the slides and the recordings will be posted on one of the MTML websites. Slides are being shared with you as well, and they will be here at the end of the slides. You will see a list of all three of them if you need to review them. And then MTML will follow up with the links to all other information. You are by now used to our Zoom interface, so I'm just going to skip through one of a few slides we have about joining and participating and muting and so on. We have been all through a lot of Zoom sessions, so it's a bit a repetition, but just in case. What I would like to do first is really just to go back very quickly to our last session on Google Forms, because in our chat and through the conversations and emails, you have sent a few questions and asked for a few more tips. So I just wanted to really quickly go through them before we jump into the topic for today. And mainly the main reason I wanted to touch on that is that we touched on setting up Google Forms as quizzes. We haven't done a lot of that. So I will have a small activity, very quick, to take you through that process again. And one of the points that I want to make about Google Forms and quizzes, if you recall, when you go to Google Forms, you can start a Google form as a blank form. That basically means it's almost like a survey. And if you want to turn it into a quiz, there is a setting option where you can enable that. But if you go to Google Forms and you look at the templates and you select quiz as a template, that option to create questions with points assigned to it is already there because the system knows it's a quiz. So keep that in mind as you're starting your forms. If you started blank, the quiz feature is turned off. If you start as a quiz, the quiz feature is already turned on, and you can already start setting up your questions with points assigned to it. So that's very helpful because some of you may have started with the template as a quiz without realizing that the system in the back end is trying to rate the specific survey with the points, but it's not organized in the way you may think. So keep that in mind. Now, sending the right link is another discussion and emails we have received. And this is really about where you go for your link. If you recall, we talked about the send button and making sure that you do not copy the link from the top of the page. You actually go to the send button and use the send button to send the link either by email or as a link that you can copy and paste into a chat or a website or anywhere else you want. So keep that in mind as well, just to make sure that you don't forget, because those are really, really quick things that you can know and then fix some of the issues you may have before. And also notifications. If you forget to set up your notification, you will not know that there's somebody filled out the survey. So don't forget to set up notifications in your account as you're setting up your survey as well. Now, if you have access to the slides, you will know that I included this link with 79 interesting ways to use Google Forms. To me, it's sort of a repository of great ideas. This is older slides, but there's a lot of great information. So if you're not sure how to use Google Forms, what to do with it, check out these slides and see what suggestions other instructors and programs have. These are not LBS specific, but I think you will really learn a lot. I learned a lot from how some of those could be used as well. Now, in the last session, I also mentioned using Google Forms as a scavenger hunt. And some of you came back asking, what does that mean? Well, just give us some ideas. So I'm not going to cover a lot of that today, but again, in the slides, I put an article about scavenger hunts. So that's other instructors sharing how they have been setting it up and using it, and also a bit of a video with another instructor sharing how they do it. So what they really do is they use images, slides, and Google Forms to create a lesson or interactive activity where they send off students to do something. And in Google Form, they fill out the questions and hit submit and are taken to another section where they do another activity and then fill out the form and they're taken somewhere else again. So that's what they have called scavenger hunts. And I think you will like the approach, especially for some of the students who are not very keen on using technology. This becomes a bit of a game and they may like that a bit more. Okay, so I'm just going to skip that slide so you can watch the video and you can access the link directly from there. What I would like to focus on is that turning a form into a quiz, just to specify a few things. And I'm going to show you that I included instructions with this slide. I'm not going to go over here through that. I'm going to actually go live and very, very quickly just set up a form and show you how you can go both ways on setting up a quiz, okay? So I'm going to stop sharing the slides for now. And I'm going to jump into our navigation in a Chrome browser. So you will see me opening a new window. I'm just going to type in forms.google.com. You have heard me talking about remembering the links. Of course, there's other ways in which I can go to forms. But usually when I go this way, it takes me to this sort of dashboard where I can see the templates. And remember, I said blank or blank quiz. The difference is the blank one is just a question with possible answers you can add. If you choose a quiz, it's a question with the quizzing option enabled. So if I click on that one, it is still blank, so it will ask me to create questions and everything. But if I click on that question, you will see the answer key feature is already enabled in there. So I can just create a quick question. So let me just create one. Just give me 1 second. 2 + 2 equals, so I'm going to make it very easy. It's going to be 4, 5, or 6, right? Very simple math question. But now, because I can actually assign points to the right answer, what I can do, I can say, okay, this one will be the right answer. So I go to the answer key and say, this one here will have 1 point, and option number 4 is the right answer. So I'm just setting up how that question is going to get evaluated and points assigned. As I'm doing that, I not only tell the system this is the right answer, this is how many points to assign, I can also add answer feedback. So if I click on that, when somebody gets it incorrectly, uh, you can just provide some kind of tip or information. You can say review the lesson and then provide a link to that. You can actually put the link in here or a video in here so you can help your students get back and learn a bit more if they didn't get the right answer. If they get the correct answer, again, you can give them feedback and it could be as simple as great work, right? And then hit save. So when they get it, they basically will get feedback from you as part of the process. So now that this question is set up, I can see this is the 1 point, right answer, this is what they will see when they get correct answer, and this is what they will see when they get the wrong answer. So you have options on setting this up. Now, if you just go to the blank quiz and do not do that setup, it may be a bit confusing for students. So I would really suggest if you're thinking it's going to be a quiz, make sure that you assign points. If it's not a quiz, choose the blank option instead of blank quiz to make a difference between the types of surveys you're setting up. So I hope this was helpful. Feel free to ask questions or try on your own and get back to me. But keep that in mind that there is a bit of a difference between the types of surveys we are looking at. So I'm going to go back to my slides. Again, this information is covered for you in the slide if you ever want to go back and review it. So that way you will be able to take a look at that. So one more check for me. Again, our chat, if you could let me know in the chat if you can see my green screen with Google Slides information. So I know you can see my slides. Perfect. Thank you so much to some of you that are willing to help me out. I really appreciate that. So our goal for today is really to take you through Google Slides and mention a lot of other apps. They are cool, interesting, but we do not have enough time to cover all of them. And you may choose not to use all of them at all. But sometimes it's just good to know or get a bit of information about it to pique your interest. And then if you like it, you can explore on your own. Or if you need help for your program, ask Alpha Plus Code Coaching, watch videos, whatever works for you. We are here to help. So if we look back at the packages we talk about a lot when we use our productivity tools. So on the left, Microsoft tools. We are used more to that because we have used it for years. Word, Excel, and a lot of applications, including PowerPoint. On the right, we have a lot of new applications from Google or similar tools to what Microsoft is offering. So for Word, we learned we can use Google Docs. For Excel, we can use Google Sheets. For PowerPoint, we can use Google Slides. It's the same idea. We are going to create presentations and use some of the tools to make it cool, interesting, and then organize the setup. But before we get to slides, I promised you that there will be other tools discussed. So we are going to look at Jamboard first. It's one of the newer tools from Google, and it's basically a place or whiteboard where you can send your learners and go yourself and share the page, and everybody can go and write at the same time. So the screen capture you see is one of the activities we did within Alpha Plus, one of our organizational meetings we had. We wanted to learn about each other. We had some new staff members. So we said, tell us 5 things you may not know about me. So this one is mine. I mentioned some of the things that I didn't, you may not have known about me. I know some of you are coming from Toronto Public Library. That was my first job after even when I was still in university. So that's when I started. And then after I added all this information, my team members went in and added a lot of different notes and comments. So I shared that with the team, and actually I wasn't in the meetings when they were adding the notes. So it was amazing to actually see their feedback afterwards. This could happen live with you, so you could be doing it at the same time, or you could be doing it separately. So what we are going to do next is I'm going to actually launch a Jamboard, or I'll give you a link that you will be able to access and explore in more detail. So I'll give you just a few tips and then I'll take you there. Now, before I do, I'm just going to go back to my chat, make sure I answer any questions you have. Sathi is asking, does the quiz tell the students if they are right, they have the right answer immediately, or can you make it so they don't know what questions are wrong or right? Sathi, you have both options. So when you're setting up your quiz, as you go through the settings, it will actually allow you to let them know the answer if they got the right answer right away, or you can turn that off and they will not know that until you get back to them or you give them the results. So you have options for both. So good question about the quizzes. But now let's talk about the Jamboard. So I'm going to open it first and I will be giving you that link. So before I do that, I'm going to copy the link address and then I'm going to open it. I don't want to give you the link because you will jump in and start doing things without getting my instructions. So right here is a Jamboard where I set it up so anyone with the link can access it. And now what I will do is I'll just show you very briefly the tools on the left and what you can do with that. So you will see I added just a note that I will add a question here. And my question will be, what do you like about Google Forms? Question mark. So here it is. It's going to be right on this page. And when you come in, you will be able to use the tools on the left to answer. So first of all, there's a pen which allows you to draw. So you can do that. If you don't want it, you can of course delete it. So the second tool allows you to delete what you just did. So I'm just going to erase that. Then you have the arrow. The arrow is just a pointer, like a cursor. It allows you to just navigate and switch your mouse back to the cursor. Then we have sticky notes. Add your comments here. Save. There we go. Now I added the sticky note and I can again put it anywhere on the screen. So you will be able to do that. I can also add images. So if I click on the images icon, I can upload my own, but also I can bring in a lot of images from other locations. If I know the address, URL, camera, Google image search, and so on, I'm just going to make it easy and go do Google search. You know me, I'm a cat person, so I'm just going to put in a cat in there. Not a map, but a cat. There we go. Here we go, one of those cuties. Here is a cat. So you can see I can search for images and bring them into here. So I can build a question for you or a topic of conversation right in front of you and have it ready in advance and have you come in and interact with it. The last two are shapes. So I can also bring shapes and I can bring text boxes. So I brought the text boxes here. That's how you can write the text. I can even do the cursor or laser, so I can show you where I'm navigating on the screen. So if you're using Zoom, you may be familiar with whiteboard in Zoom. It's the same concept. This one is from Google. But the Jamboard, that's how they call this tool, is available within Google Meet. So you can use it as part of your Google meeting, or you can use Jamboard separately, the way we are using it today. So we're not in Google Meet, but we can still use Jamboard whiteboard for our session today. So this is what we are going to do. And I'm going to paste the link into our Zoom chat. So you should be able to see it. Now, there's a limit. Only 25 people, at least based on the instructions, can access and edit. Let me see. All right. Can you see me? Yeah, you can hear me. So only 25 people can access and edit at the same time. If there will be more, the system may tell you you can't access it. So the first 25 of you get in and see if you can edit the screen. I will be keeping this open. So you should be able to follow the link and start drawing, writing, whatever you want to do. The purpose of this activity is just to see if you can come in and do anything. Can you draw? Can you write? Can you do anything? So I can see, and everybody else can see how you're drawing, how you're adding things. Imagine you have a group of your students and you're asking them to come in. You give them a question, you give them a topic, and they can do things together. For some of you, if you're teaching math, I have seen this being used for math activities, so you can draw equations a bit better sometimes, and your students can write on that as well. So check this out. Isn't this beautiful? I love how everybody is coming in. If we reach the maximum, some of you who are coming a bit later, you may get a message that there's too many people in the room and you can't come in. So it's really interesting because in the past, the system was saying you can have up to 50 people at the same time. Now it's saying 25. But Google Meet allows up to 100 people in the room. So it can be frustrating if you have a bigger group and you want everyone to interact and they do not have a chance. So one of the limitations of this group as well. So, oh my gosh, this is awesome. This is beautiful. Perfect. Now, one more thing just to show you on this one, as you're doing all these scribbles, I'm going to see if I can take a picture of this because I'm just loving this. One thing to mention is to let you know that, and you can see I'm taking with the phone, so I'm not grabbing any personal information of you. What I just want to mention is that on top, if you look to the top of a Jamboard, there are page numbers. So I can actually go in and create a second page, and that second page could be a different question or space for specific students. So I can actually allow or assign a page for students as they're going in. So there you go. You are jumping and going in and navigating. Perfect. The idea is to collaborate online, right? And this may be a perfect tool for you. So I know you're having lots of fun. I want to thank you for participating in the Jamboard activity. I'm going to close this and go back to our slides so we can continue and discuss even more interesting and exciting activities as well. So I'm so glad that that you're doing so many funny things with it. Awesome. Perfect. So I'm going to just jump back to the slides. If you're still there, come back to the slides to make sure we have you back with us. And then we are going to jump into Google Slides, okay? Okay. So somebody is telling us that they can't see the interpreter. So let's just come back. And so for Pete, we have to have Pete come back. Okay. So make sure that you come back to your Zoom session. If you navigate it away, you may not see us, but perfect. Okay. All right. So I'm glad some of you are mentioning that you had fun. That's perfect. All right. So we have, okay. Perfect. So everybody is back. That's perfect. Let's move on. So Google Slides will be our next section we are going to cover. Of course, if you remember, I talk about accessing the applications. And this is just if you're starting, if you're not comfortable with some of the access points, our usual, you go to the Google Apps or Waffle menu, and you can click on Slides. They will be there. You can also go in just through the address. So if you remember, I did forms.google.com for our earlier activity. In here, I'll be going into slides.google.com because I'm going to slides. And the third option is also when you are in Google Drive and you click on new, one of the drop-down menus will be Google Slides as well. So you can launch new slides directly in your Drive as well. Many, many different options as well. Okay. Okay, select side-by-side speaker to see the interpreter. So just to make sure that for our deaf interpreters and then our participants, are we okay with the setup for some of our participants?
This is Laura speaking. I'm
Yeah.
just typing in the chat to Pete directly to ask if he can see because he won't be able to see that through Marianne.
Okay, perfect.
So
Thank you.
Typing
Thank
to
you.
confirm that we get that.
Awesome. Okay. And Angie is asking, can you share a PDF file in the Jamboard? I'm not 100%. It doesn't seem to have an option to upload a PDF file if you're thinking of that. But I think there is an option for sure to put a link. So in the text box, you could put a link that will point somebody to a PDF file. So I think that way you can share that, but not directly, not embedding it. Okay. All right.
Monica, Wanda
Yes.
has a question.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Do you have to log into Google to access the Jamboard link you're going to send?
Perfect question for the Jamboard. With the Jamboard, if you're the one creating the Jamboard or starting the Jamboard, you have to be in a Google account, but you can share it with anyone and they don't have to be signed in or have a Google account. So in the sharing options, like with many other Google products, you can say, I want to share with anyone with the link, and that will allow them to go in and edit and write on it without having to be signed in into their Google account. So very good question. Thank you. Awesome. All right. Going back to our slides, we know how to start that. For Google Slides on mobile devices, as you know, we all interact with different devices at this point. For Google Slides, you will have to install the app. So it will not open in the browser if you want to create slides. You have to have the app for that to be able to work on your mobile devices. Okay. So for the next section, you know me as well. I try to have the slides for you so you have the instructions. But rather than just going slide by slide for this, I thought it may be a bit better if I actually do this live. So again, you will be able to see that. So we're going to go into that very, very quickly. I'm going to show you all that. But just to tell you, when I start Google Slides, I will be getting a dashboard again with templates that I can repurpose and history of what we have. So if you look at this graphic here, you will see there's lots of templates and also some of the presentations I have done. So you can see a lot of slides and copies and things that I do as I work on different things. If I start a new slides or Google PowerPoint or presentation, if you want to call it that way, it will be untitled. So then I have to name it, and then I have a theme I can choose and work from there. Similar process to what you go through when you create your PowerPoint as well. All right. So now I'm going to do a quick overview, and then we are going to go live again. So with the overview, it is similar to PowerPoint. The features are very similar. It's just sometimes what you have access to and what your preference is. As with any Google product, there is automatic saving. So there's no save button. The system will save as you're working on your presentation. There are also lots of great templates. And in the slides later, I will also share with you a third-party website that has even more slide templates for Google Slides and for PowerPoint. If somebody else is in the document, it will show you an icon that somebody else is there, and you can actually see them if you're there at the same time making the changes. Sharing options similar to Google Docs or Sheets, where you can send somebody a link and they can have a permission to view it or edit it. So similar to other tools that you are getting familiar with. There's also a chat built in the notifications. And on the phone app, you have to have that app installed. Sometimes we kind of get mixed up because we think if somebody just sends me Google Slides and I open it on my phone, it will actually download the app for you and then open it. So you have to have that app or you have to install it as you go. You can also save your Google Slides as a PowerPoint, so you can actually change the ending of it. So then your Microsoft products can actually open that as well. And of course, as a PDF if you want to. And then there's a present mode. So what you see right now when I'm on the main screen and the slides are big, I'm in the present mode and I can use the tools at the bottom to allow me to navigate. I can also use arrows when I'm navigating. It's just because I'm sharing or using two monitors, sometimes it doesn't work the same way. So I'm being careful and just using the tools at the bottom for myself. And then of course, one of the features that actually is one of my favorites, you can embed videos in your slides. So you will see when I was going earlier through scavenger hunt, there was a video that was added. And when I clicked on it, it actually started playing because Google Slides allow you to embed videos into the presentations. Okay. Yes. There's a question from Karen if we can convert existing PowerPoint presentations into Google Slides. Absolutely. As soon as you add your PowerPoint to your drive, you can just do new or file upload, open it in your Google Drive. The system will actually ask you, do you want to open it in Google Slides? And it will just do that for you. It will do the full conversion and then open it in Google Slides. Then you will have an option. You can just keep it as slides and the extension will still stay there. Or again, you can download it in a different format. So it will work smoothly. Occasionally, if you have older PowerPoint slides with older themes or templates, it may shift a bit or maybe not work exactly the same, but usually it works. I haven't really tried too much with transitions in terms of you have a PowerPoint that had transitions built in, you try to open that in Google Slides. I cannot guarantee that your transitions will work the same way. In Google Slides, transitions are called animations. So it has similar idea where you can tell the system to swoosh through the screen, come from the top, come from the bottom, switch the page. You can set all that up if you want to, okay? So good questions. So now I'm going to stop here with the PowerPoint slides that I'm sharing with you, and I'm going to go live and show you some of those features directly on the screen. So it's just, I think it may be a bit easier for you to see all that as we are navigating. But in the slides, you have some of the highlights that I will be focusing on, again, if you want to review them during this session. So remember, I said I'm presenting, so I can come in here at the bottom and I can say, I could just navigate away from this page, but it's just easy for me when I'm trying to do multitasking as I'm presenting. For myself, I just stop presenting and then the slides stay, and then I can go into my browser and open new things and then come back to my slides. So it just makes it a bit easier for me to navigate. I know some of you are pros with that, much better than me. I just need to find my way around that way, okay? So what I did is I'm just going to open a new tab, plus symbol, open a new tab, and you know me, I will be typing in slides.google.com. Sort of fastest, easiest way for me, makes me remember that as well. So now the dashboard. In the dashboard, I have a lot of different templates, and some of them are fantastic. If I click on the template gallery, it's going to open with even more options for you to use. So you can start there if you want. If I come back, it just takes me back to my dashboard with all my presentations that I have been working on. So that's the latest files I have been using and working with. If I click on blank, it's just going to open a new Google Slides presentation with nothing in it, empty. So of course, like with many other themes and templates, I can choose a specific theme. If I like something, let's say this one, so I'm going to apply it. This is my first slide. I can create topic and title and so on. So a lot of those features are very similar to what you have seen in PowerPoint. If I wanted to add a new slide, I can right click and then it will just say, do you want to duplicate the slide? Do you want to add a new slide? A lot of different options here for you. You can even go insert and add a new slide as well, new slide here. So there's a lot of different features where you can add that. That insert option has a feature that I absolutely love, actually a few of them. But the main one that I like is the image. And you will see if I click on the image, I have searched the web. Remember when we were doing Google Docs, we were able to do the Google, I'm just going to mute everything on my phone so it doesn't ring again. If I click insert and we were doing Google Docs, I was able to upload a file from my computer or search the web. If I search the web, again, on the right side, it's going to open the features for me, my standard one, a cat. You will see again, it's searching for the features. Notice the images are very similar to what I found when I was doing Google Forms. Because remember, we were talking about the images and the copyright issue. The system is trying to find images that have that permission to use as a copyright. So very often Pixabay and a few other websites that sort of certify that they're copyright free. So again, you're seeing the same image I did earlier. So I can just insert it here without leaving the slides, without even looking in my computer. I can add content that way. So I can insert a lot of things in that way throughout the slides as I'm moving on. Now, the other option that I want to show you, if I click insert, is text box, audio, video. If I click on the video, remember I mentioned that you can bring items from YouTube. The system is going to load.
People had a big poop down there.
Right? The system is going to upload a page. And of course, it froze for a second for us. So let's see if it's going to restart. Let me try one more time. Insert, video. Good. You know, we can do that. As we are presenting, the system is saying, no, I'm not going to load the page for you. But the idea will be that when I click on that option here, I can actually see YouTube videos and bring a YouTube video in here. And it will embed the video with the play button, and it will be very easy to play it. So I apologize, it doesn't want to do it now. It's just taking a break, I guess. But that feature will be there for you. So you will be able to insert all that. This section with the inserting has a lot more options than your Google Doc. In Google Doc, you don't have text boxes and a few other features that will be very handy, but they do not exist in Google Docs, but they do exist in slides. So the tendency for many instructors now, and for actually anyone, is to start creating instructions, tips, worksheets in slides rather than Google Docs, for example, because it's easy for students to see. The information can be broken down. You can put links, you can put videos, makes a big difference. So it's good to know as well. Okay, so I'm going to hold off with the video because it's not letting me do that. What I want to show you next as well is the other options in here. So tools is another option that I really like. If you click on that, you can do explore. And again, you may remember explore from the Google Docs session we had, where when you click explore, you can search for not only for images, but also for other things. Cat ears, if that's going to come up. Here we go. It will search the web. It will also look for images, and it will also look for content on your own drive if you have any resources. So once again, I'm not leaving my slides. I'm actually staying in the slides and looking for information, and I can bring it in directly into my slides as I'm working on that. So Explore feature can be neat and can make a big difference. But the big one, you like that last time, voice typing. It's not going to type the text for you in the slides, but it's going to voice type the notes for you. So you could have a slide and you could go at the bottom. The bottom section is actually your notes. You can resize it if you want to make it bigger. You can type it, right? But you can also come in and use voice typing. And if everything will work properly, it's going to start writing for you. So I could actually dictate my notes for that specific slide. And sometimes it's easy because when you're talking, you may be talking very differently than if you are actually writing something. So it may make a big difference in how you may document or add notes to your slides as well. So if I hit stop, it will stop typing for me. And there I am, I have notes for my slide. So really, really nice, handy tip for you as well. There's also a dictionary. There's a few other things that you may like as well. So I really would suggest that you explore that as well. All right. Now, the last thing I want to show you is the sharing. So if I click on the right side and the orange button, share, you will notice, first of all, you didn't name it. So you cannot share until you give it a name. So of course, I'm just going to put Monica test on it, save, and then the system is going to say, how do you want to share? Who do you want to share it with? I can share it with somebody by email address. So that means I'm inviting only that person. So if I just use my other email for that, I put it in here and the system is going to say, do you want allowed to somebody to edit, comment, or view your slides, right? So that's a very handy tip to choose which one you want to give somebody. You can also send a message with notes for them, and then you send it off and they receive an email. If they're outside of your organization, you will kind of get an extra reminder that this person is not member of your team. Is it okay to send? You say yes, and it will go. So that's one way to share. I'm going to show you another one. So now you can see I'm the owner. I'm the one who created the slides. I shared it with my other account. And then there's the link option. I love link options because when we are in this session right now, I can literally grab this link and send it to you without inviting you by email and having you go off to your email to access it. So I can say right now, it will just say Alpha Plus Center, but I can say no, change it, and not Alpha Plus Center, but anyone with the link can view or edit. So if I do edit, I finish that setup, I copy the link, click done. I can come back to our chat. I'm going to send this to you, but don't spend too much time on it because you will not be following my slides. And there I am. Now I was able to send you the slides. And hopefully I set up all the settings properly so you will be able to open it. But the idea is that it could be as quick and easy for me to share something with you. So a lot of great features here. Another one that you will see is present. So remember I was saying that when I was sharing the slides with you, that's where you would see it. If I click present, the system now is in the presentation mode and showing the slides to everybody. If I escape or use some of our tools here, I can come back. Now there's also an option to see the speaker notes. So if I open that, the system will actually open the speaker notes slightly in a different side. So you still don't see it because in a shared window, but there's an option for me to see that separately. So I could be showing you the slides and on the side, I could have my notes and review my notes as I'm presenting as well. So lots of great options here. I'm going to exit that present mode and come back to the slides. So here we are, back with the slides. Present we covered. There's also present to a meeting. So if I was in Google Meet, it would allow me to do that. And then the notes. So there's comment history in here. And if I click on that, I could comment on this. So imagine you and your students may be working on slides. You give them some instructions and ask them to do something, or one of the students reviews something for another student. Rather than making changes in the slides, you can ask them to add comments, or you yourself can add comments for your students, almost like writing on a piece of paper for them. You can do that this way so that your students get feedback from you without you messing up their slides if they were the ones working on those. So the commenting feature is there for you if you're collaborating with someone to make it easier to provide feedback and notes as well. So amazing feature to look at as well. So The videos, I can't show you how to insert just because the system doesn't want to let me do that. But the one more thing I want to show you in here, I'm going to close my voice typing. I'm going to insert a new slide. So insert new slide. And in here, what I want to show you is inserting and cropping images. Again, that's one of my features that I really like. So I'm just going to get rid of those boxes, delete them all together. Get rid of that. I'm going to bring in an image. One more time, search the web, another cat. Let's make this cutie nice here. Insert. I can resize this image and move it around, of course, anywhere on the screen. But what if I want this image to be a circle, not rectangle? If you look to the top in the tools here, you have a cropping tool. So I can crop this image, and cropping allows me just to resize it, right? So I can cut off some edges from it. So I'm going to make it square because in a circle, I will want it to be sort of the proper dimension. So I'm going to say, crop it into a square, and then right next to it, there is an option for me to choose different shapes. So if I choose a circle, it's going to be a circle. If I choose it to be a heart, it's going to be a heart. So you have that cropping tool right in there in your slides. So you can make your setup, your branding, your look very, very different and unique by just using the cropping feature. I'm going to backtrack and I'm going to say reset image. So this was the original image we had. If I come back here and just say right now, make a circle from this rectangle, it's going to kind of look it like that because it doesn't know how to resize it. So that's why I made it square first and then a circle. But overall, what an amazing way for you to kind of make your slides look slightly different without having to edit all those images in a separate program as well, right? Okay. Okay, so Julie is asking, I haven't figured out how to share my screen in Zoom with the slides already in presentation mode. Is there a way so that attendees don't see me going into that view option? Most of the time, somebody else, if you have done that, please go ahead and do that. What I usually do is I have two monitors. So I have a laptop and monitor. So the slides that I was sharing with you, I had them on my desktop or a monitor. And then when I was sharing from Zoom, I said, keep my Zoom session in first window, but share the slides from the second. And that at the time, they're in present mode already, and it takes it. When you're in one window, it gets tricky because the system sometimes doesn't let you. I think I have seen some others doing actual window. So if you do window or tab, it may be in the present mode and it may take it, but not always. So my way around usually is that second monitor if you can have one. But if somebody else has other tips, please share because we're all learning as we go. Okay. Can you only insert YouTube videos? It's a bit tricky because the videos have to be somewhere. They have to have a player. So the reason they say YouTube videos is because the YouTube video comes with a player. It has the play button, it has the box and everything. That's how you can do that. You could try to bring a file from Drive if you want, but it may not work or play the same way. So I have never tried. So you can, if you go insert image or even video, I'm not sure why it doesn't want to load right now for us, but if you click on there, check what options you have. It may say from Drive, but again, just keep in mind, it may take longer to load because it has to go to your Drive, retrieve it, and play it. So YouTube usually is the best method for the speed and that player that works within that. So, okay, thank you. I'm getting your feedback on some of those things. So I'm glad that you're finding this helpful. This cropping of the images is really one of my favorite things, and the videos that you're able to do that. So I promised you, I'm jumping back to my presentation, and as was the question, it's not in present mode because the system doesn't sort of keep it that way when I navigate it. But if I go back and navigate to my next slide, we are not going to touch the saving in Drive because as soon as the system said you have to save it, it's already saving it in the Drive for you, no matter what. Even if you don't name it anything, you just keep it untitled, it's saving it in my Drive. But if you want to rename it, like with any other ones, there's a tiny icon where you can move it and put it in a different folder. So you have that option in there. Keep that in mind. We covered presentation mode. We covered inserting videos, cropping images. This is another cool section. So this one, this Carnival website, is actually a third party developed by somebody else. where you can go and look for nice, interesting slide themes. And you can use those themes within Google Slides and PowerPoint. So if you're looking for some of those, go in and explore. You will see there's a lot to choose from, and it will save you time. It will even bring the colors, the icons, everything for you, so you have a full template to work with. It's a very good website. The last thing I want to mention about Google Slides is something called hyperdocs. It's a new word. Some of you may have heard about that. For us, it has been fairly new. But what has been happening is that a lot of teachers, users take Google Slides because it's so easy to add content to it and create them, use them as activity, workbooks, lessons, courses, whatever you can call it. It's basically a tool for you to share information with your learners, with your colleagues. So a lot of times it will have hyperlinks, so links to other websites, links to videos, links to images. That's why it's called hyperdoc, because it allows you to navigate to other places. And it doesn't have to be a Google slide. It could be a Google Doc as well, and it will also be called hyperdoc. Just because slides have a lot of features on inserting, it may be a preferred method for some of you. So I just want to mention, and I included links to that. Our team behind the scenes is working on some hyperdocs for you. They will be launching it fairly soon, but I included examples for you of what they're working on. So there's an example of how they created a hyperdoc for learners. And this one, the topic is about going gray, which is, a topic, daily life skills. And then also they're building a website where you will find a lot of content. So we will start sharing that information more and more. But if you want to take a peek, go in and take a look. Okay. So Pauline, hello, Monica. I don't have the crop option in my tools section in Google Slides. So Pauline, just to clarify, if you're looking at the cropping, let me just go back. I'm going to exit this mode, stop presenting. And then that takes me back to my editing tool. So you will only see this tool if you have an image inserted. So otherwise, if I'm on the text only, you don't see that tool. But if you click or bring in an image and that image is selected, that's when your cropping tools will show up, because you can use them only with the image. So I hope that it helps answer that question, and a great tip for everybody else. Okay, so you can see as I navigate from the image to the text, the cropping tool disappeared. Okay, so very, very good point to raise. Thank you for that. Okay, all right. All right, so hyperdocs we covered. Check them out, they're amazing. And that concludes my tips for you and some information about Google Slides. I'm going to take a second to take a sip of water. And in the meantime, I know you have been putting in a lot of feedback in the chat, but take a minute and just let me know briefly, is there anything that you notice that you think you're going to use or try on your own because you liked some of those features as we were discussing them? So take a few seconds to post in the chat. All right. All right, and Kathy G, thank you for that feedback. It condenses some of the features on the tool if you're using split screen, because it's going to shift it. So, it may disappear or be moved to the side a bit more. That's a really good tool or tip as well. Okay, so Suzette, you like the slides and Jamboard? Perfect. Again, we are doing a very quick overview. So sometimes it's a bit of information overload, but really I just want to give this to you so you can try those things and explore them. Okay. Okay, inserting images and graphics, perfect. There's word art. There's so many different things in there that sometimes we don't explore. I did not touch on animation, but if you go and you're in the slides, there is a animation option in there. So if you are using animations, you will be able to create animations in your slides, or transitions if you are using PowerPoint language. Okay, perfect. Okay, speaker notes while you're presenting. I do find those useful. And when you're in those speaker notes, again, because of how we are sharing the screen, I can't really show you that. But if you try on your notes, you will see that when you enable that, the system will not only give you the notes, it will also give you an option to see what's the next slide. So as you're presenting and everybody else sees your slide that you're on right now, in your speaker notes, you're already seeing the next slide, which again gives you a bit of extra tip and helps you manage your presentation a bit better. Okay. Okay, perfect. All right. So We are going to move on very quickly. I'm just going to give you a few more minutes to think about your feedback or notes for the chat. The next tool is going to be,
Monica,
yeah, go ahead.
were you able to answer Julie's question? I haven't figured out how to share my screen in Zoom with the slides already in presentation mode. Is there a way so that attendees don't see me going into a view option?
Yes, yes. So we were discussing it. For me, just from my own perspective, most of the time, the easiest way for me is just to connect another monitor and have the presentation open in another monitor and share that in Zoom as a second window or second screen. Then you can leave that and kind of navigate back and forth. Some of you are mentioning splitting screens. I haven't tried that because I just lost myself in the Zoom and all that. Um, I also know that some users try to use a window, but again, I don't know if it will keep the present option open. So I will just try a few different things, but I don't know of any other ones. Yeah. Okay. But thank you, Ambreen, for reminding us. We covered that, but repeating it is good as well. Okay. So you are giving me great feedback on what we are looking for. So that's fantastic. We are going to jump into Google Sites. So talking about language, slides and sites, just two letters difference and very, very different platforms, right? So what I want to do is I'm not going to go and show you how to create Google Sites because that could be a topic of its own, but I'm going to give you a few examples so you can explore in more detail and then highlight a few things that may help you. So with Google Sites, you will be going to sites.google.com. Again, an address bar. And one of the reasons why I also push for address bars, some of the basic applications from Google, like Docs, Sheets, Slides, are always in your 9 dot menu or in that waffle menu. They will always be there. But as you navigate through other applications that you may have not used before, they may not show up there because you haven't used them and the system may not think you will need them. So they will not be there in your Google Apps list. So knowing that you can actually access them just by going to the address bar is very, very helpful. If you start using Google Sites 2, 3, 4 times, it will start showing up in your waffle menu. But if you haven't used it, it may not be there for you. So going through the address bar, a very, very handy tip as well. Now, if you wanted to create a Google site, anyone with a Gmail account can create Google Sites. So Google Sites like building websites. It's a free tool that comes with your Google account. You do not have to have Google Suite or Workspace. Any Gmail account, if you go to sites.google.com, you will be able to build a website. And when you open that page, you will see it's going to be untitled because it doesn't know how we want to call this website. And it will have a very, very clean, simple look for you to work with. In the middle, you will see page title and the white space below. Header with section and then white space below. On the right side, you will have 3 tabs to choose from. The insert tab allows you to bring text boxes, images, even embed content from other websites like videos and other things. You can bring content from your Google Drive. So in this case, if I had a PDF document in my Drive, I could bring it to the website. It will be sitting there. And then whoever visits the websites can open and take a look at that, assuming I allowed permissions for that document to be opened to anyone with the link. So remember that. And then different layouts. And if I scroll down, there'll be even more tools. You could embed Google Form into it. You can embed Google Doc into it. You can embed Google Slides into it. So you can build a web page with all kinds of content that your students or your colleagues or anyone in the public can access just by going to a page address that Google will give you. So anytime you create a Google site, Google will say the address is sites.google.com / or / and the name you give your website. It will do it for you. So if you talk about hosting, domains, and other things, very often it sounds complicated. In this case, Google will take care of the basics for you. It will allow you to create the content, give you the link. It's a basic link, not a fancy one, but it's a basic one, and you can click publish, and right away your website is live. You can send a link and people can access it. You can update your content as you're going through it. And if you really want to connect your domain, like I know some of the organizations have been using Google Sites for their website, organizational website, you can. There's a section in there that allows you to bring your own domain. So that special address you buy, like alphaplus.ca, tie it to your website. So when somebody types in alphaplus.ca, the Google site opens. And as you go on and need to make changes and updates, you come back to this view and then you add more content or replace content by inserting things. If you want to add more pages, you just add extra pages to it and then even change the theme. So all that is built into this tool for you for free as part of the package you get with Gmail account or your Workspace account, okay? Now, I quickly ran through that, so I'm not going to do that again. There's so many amazing things to open, but what I included as well is a few examples for you where you can see how other programs have chosen to use Google Sites. So if you have seen their websites, you may not have noticed or known that those are Google Sites websites. So this one is from the TLG, the Literacy Group in Kitchener-Waterloo. They decided to build this page for their students. So the students can come here and access content and information about reading, math, getting jobs, even COVID resources, all that in one place. And the students can go and access that. Instructors can tell students, go to this section, do this activity, or review this website. All that is located in the Google site. So that's how they're using it with their students. Another organization, this is actually a school board that chose to also build a Google site. Notice sites.google.com, the name of the school board, and then the name of the page that they did. For this, they did skills upgrading class. So specifically for their class, again, content, information, resources. You have access to that. Take a look. If you like it, contact them or work with us or just try on your own to create something that will work for you, your team, or your program. Now at Alpha Plus, we collect a lot of different resources. So one of my colleagues created this website with numeracy resources, just as a place to drop or put content that we may be looking for. So she used Google Sites to put that information for us so we can go in and access that information. We have multiple websites like that. So if you go there, you will find other ones as well. So a few examples for you. I hope that you got a bit curious about Google Sites if you want to try it. Many of you who are in this session already have tried Google Sites or are using them. If you are one of the members who is using it, feel free to share your feedback on Google Sites. What's working? What do you find frustrating? I know it's not perfect. It's a very simple tool, not as big or broad as WordPress or other bigger tools, but it's enough to build basic websites, and it's enough to allow you to go in and edit it without having too many skills and resources necessary to do that, okay? So Kathy, your question, can anyone access the information on Google Sites, or can you limit who has access? It basically has a few features similar to other docs and applications that Google provides. So you can make your Google site specifically public, so anyone with the link can access it, or you can invite by their organization or email address. So if you have a Workspace account like Alpha Plus, we could build websites and say only people from Alpha Plus can access those websites. There's a restriction you can set up. Or you can say the access to the website is restricted, but monica@marson.ca can access it. But monica@marson.ca will have to be logged in into the account so that she can see it. So some of the organizations are asking, can we have a username and password to access the website? That's sort of replacement for that. So basically you can follow a link, and if the website is restricted, it will basically say you have to sign in. So I will have to sign in with that email address that I know gave me access to this website, and then I can see it, but nobody else can see it because only that specific email address was invited to the site. So this is how you can control it. It does not have an option to restrict specific pages from users. Like you cannot password protect it. You can hide it, so only people with the link who will know the link can get there, but you cannot password protect specific pages. So just to know that as well. So other questions, bring them in. Feedback from others who are using Google Sites, bring it in. I know there's a lot we are covering today, but again, I really think that some of that you will find useful and helpful for what you're looking for, okay? Google Keep is not exactly a tool that you may be using or be familiar with, but a lot of our learners are looking for tools to get organized. And I'm going to be honest, I do use Google Keep a lot personally at home with my husband. So Google Keep can be installed or accessed through your computer. You just go to keep.google.com, or you can install an app on your phone and it will be going in and syncing the information for you. And within Google Keep, what you can do is create all kinds of different notes that can be organized by label. So like you can see here, this is actually my personal account, and I just wanted to show you that's how I use it, including hairdos. You can see my curly hair. Sometimes it gets frustrating. Home decor, whatever you think is important to you, you can organize this information in any way you want. But basically, it allows you to create like checklists or lists of different things. If I go shopping, I will bring the dimensions of a carpet I'm looking for, or specific kind of cream I need to buy, and so on. Many of those notes can be shared with others. So my husband and I, we actually have a shopping list. So if I'm going to the store, we both can update the list at the same time. And then when I'm in the store, my husband can continue updating it, and I can see on my phone what I need to get. When I get it, I can just check on it, and then the system will say, oh, you've checked it off the list. The same process can be used by your students for checklists of how can they do homework, what assignments they have to do, how they can organize their week. You can help them with the tools like that to organize themselves a bit better. Even as well for like your own work plan, work commitments you have, you can have your things to-do lists as well. And it will be like that. So Simone, Google Keep for what? So Google Keep is just a name. So Keep is the app. It's created by Google, and it's just the name they gave it. It's basically a tool that allows you to create notes and lists for yourself. So you're keeping this information for some kind of purpose or reason. I have seen people put website links on that as a reminder, recipes, pictures of things, because you can add pictures, even audio notes. You can if some of you need audio notes, you can record yourself and have those audio files in here. So there's a lot of great tips and tools in here that can be helpful for you. So I love it. If you haven't tried it or explored it, try it, because it is a good one. Okay. Yeah. So Avis, yes, like it is for organizing yourself. Exactly. For some of us who are sort of, we have different jobs, different responsibilities, learners, all of us, we are trying to organize in some way. So this may be one of the tools for you. What I like about that is that you can collaborate with others. So if there's a project you're working on, you could have a checklist for that project, like Georgina and Ambreen could be working together. They could have that checklist and they could be going in and updating the list. And both of them will see the latest updates, right? So it could be used for many, many different purposes. Import a document in Google Keep? Don't think so. It's more about documents will be more in Drive. This will be more for notes or links or pictures. So you don't import stuff into it. You actually just make notes. So if you had the link to a document, you could save it, but not the actual document. Okay, so that's a good question from Karina. All right. So as you can see, I'm jumping through things pretty quickly. Google Meet is our next one. We are using Zoom today, but some of you cannot use Zoom or don't have access to Zoom. So many of you may be mentioning or using Google Meet. Again, another tool from your Google family. One login, as with everything else. You can just go to meet.google.com and the system will ask you, do you want to create a new meeting? Or if you actually are a member of a meeting and you know the code for it, you could enter it here and the system will put you into a meeting. If you are the one who wants to host a meeting, when you click on a new meeting, you will be able to schedule a meeting for later, start an instant meeting. So do the meeting right now and then invite people to it, or even schedule that in the calendar. So a lot of options for you here, but it is basically a tool to allow you for video calls with others. It comes from Google, okay? And when you launch it, it's going to be a fairly simple view where in the middle you will have the video. My screen capture just includes the character, but if you had the video, it will be your video. You will have an option to mute, unmute your microphone, hang up. On the right side, you will have an option to present. But one of the big features is the closed captioning. So You will not believe it. If you go in and start click on closed captioning, it will be just writing on the screen for you automatically. Similar tool like you have seen in Google Slides or in Google Doc. Pretty clear and pretty consistent in how it reads. With my accent, it's doing pretty good job of typing out what I'm saying. Okay. Okay. And then if you click on top of those tools, again, I'm not going to the tool, I'm just showing you, that's where you will see how many participants you have in there. There's a chat feature. We have a Zoom chat. There's a chat feature in Google Meet. And there's extra tools for you. Like you could actually do a few games and activities. Polling is there. So a lot of extra tools for you. For me, the big one here, it's very easy to launch. So anyone who has a Google account can set up a meeting. But your visitors, participants, do not have to have a Google account or do not have to be signed in into Google account to join your meeting. You basically start a meeting and you will see in here, it says add others. So you can invite them by their email address, or you can send a link. This link, it's a bit blurry on here, but it says meet.google.com. And then there's like a 6 or 9 character code that the system has. So the last part, you can just copy the whole thing, send it to somebody by email, send it to somebody by chat. They click on the link and they start. If they're part of your organization within Google environment, Google Workspace, they will join right away. If your regular Gmail account or they're not part of your organization, the system will basically notify you to tell you so-and-so is waiting for you in the waiting room. Just allow them to come in, and they're coming in. So from the learner perspective, they click on this link, they follow it, and then they're just waiting for you to admit them. And then they're with you in the session, meeting and interacting with you. So for some learners, this process may be slightly easier than sometimes Zoom may be, because Zoom asks for downloads and other things like that. So an alternative for many of you if one of the tools doesn't want to work. So very good question. Why do you use Zoom instead of Meet? Sometimes it's the features. So I actually love Zoom for stability. It's sometimes better quality of the video and it's more stable than I found Google Meet. We do have an account that allows us to create polls and do a lot of different things like that. So just for that reason, I like Zoom a bit more. Google Meet will still work for smaller meetings and groups. And at Alpha Plus, we actually alternate. So sometimes we will have a meeting in Zoom, sometimes we will have a meeting in Google Meet, and sometimes in Microsoft Teams. Why? Because we want to know all those tools and get familiar with them. So we are alternating ourselves just to get familiar with them. All of them will work, and all of them will have some kind of small thing that may annoy you as well. So it's just about preferences sometimes. Kathy G, is there a limit to the length of the meeting? That's a good question. I was checking that a few years ago or a while ago, and then I don't want to lie to you. For sure, more than 2-3 hours. It's not that short or anything. Like Zoom for a while was limiting to 45 minutes. Google doesn't limit that way. But I think, like after 24 hours or something, it may disconnect you. So it is longer than that, but I do not know the exact number. But if you Google it, I'm sure it will come up. What is the participant number available? Also, is there a cost to using Google Meet as with Zoom? So Google Meet is free. The number of participants, again, I don't want to lie to you. I want to say 100, but that those numbers change sometimes. So I will check on that just to be sure. In terms of cost, basic account is free. Video call is free. You will have a whiteboard or Jamboard in there, chat and everything. The one thing that is not free is recording. So if you want to record in Google Meet, you will have to upgrade your account either to Workspace, which is if you're a nonprofit organization, you can apply for a free account and then get that, or you actually need to get business. So in some cases, we are hearing from programs, and actually even for us, that Google actually upgraded that even nonprofits don't get the recording. You actually have to pay because nonprofits get it for free. So they said, no, even nonprofits will not get it. You have to get a business version of it, which is around $70 a year per user to be able to get the recording option in Google Meet. But if you're not recording, if that's not important to you, it will have a lot of other features. Okay. So January is asking, is it the same as Google Classroom? Yes. So in Google Classroom, Google Meet is built in as a tool for you to meet. But Google Meet can be used outside of the classroom as a tool on its own. So you don't have to be using Classroom to meet with your students. So Google Meet is basically a standalone app in Google Classroom. You're teaching your students, you're working with them. So Google built that in to allow you to meet with your students through video calls. And you're doing that through Google Meet. So a very good question. Okay. So Heather, Google Meet participants maximum is 100 for up to 60 minutes meetings for free. Okay. So they are changing that too. Anyone? So 60 minutes now. So thank you for looking this up. The 60 minutes is new for me. For sure, it was much longer than that before. So they're changing and adjusting those things as well. Okay. So keep that in mind, and thank you for checking that for us. But it is still a very handy tool, very useful tool. So I really want you to know about that and try it. If you're struggling with the Microsoft Teams or Zoom for some reason, that's another tool for you. It comes with a Google account. Don't be afraid of it. Makes a difference. Okay. Now, January was asking about Google Classroom. So I'm going to jump to Classroom because it's another tool that comes with a Google package. Again, Google Classroom is at least an hour session on its own if you want to learn more about that. But what I wanted to highlight for you is that it allows you to create classes for your students. So many of you are familiar with Moodle as a learning management system, Desire to Lane or Brightspace. What's the third one that I'm thinking of? Canvas is another tool. Learning management systems will be those courses you can build where you have students enroll, they go through the content, they complete activities, they can get grades, and at the end, they could even get a certificate they have completed a course. Many times we will just refer to it as learning management systems. So Google has a simplified version of it. And when I say simplified, is that it may not have all the features that you get in those bigger systems that you often have to pay for. In Classroom, you can get that for free. Not perfect, a lot of different features that may not be perfect, but still, you can build a class so you can have a lot of courses in which you can set them up. And then when we get into a bit more detail, same login. So you can be logging in with your Gmail account to access and build a course, or to take courses that somebody else set up. So it again makes it a bit easier. It can be created in Gmail account and in Workspace. But you have to know that if you create your course in a regular Gmail account, if there's somebody from an organization that's trying to log in, the system will say, Gmail is one organization, this is Alpha Plus organization, we are not going to let you in. And goes the other way. If Alpha Plus creates Google course, and I want to allow Gmail users to go in, so anyone outside of our organizational space, I have to go to admin and change the settings and say, yes, allow Gmail users to come into our session. Or if Alpha Plus has Google Workspace and is setting up courses, and then Aurelia, the council, also has a workspace like that, we can change permissions in the admin level and say, both organizations are okay to access each other courses. But you cannot change that on the instructor level. It has to be your admin that has to make those changes. So just for you to keep in mind, there could be restrictions on who can access the courses when you build them, okay? So some organizations, what they chose to do is basically, if they're using Gmail, they tell all the students they have to have a Gmail account. If they have organizational account like Alpha Plus, what we will do just to avoid that is either tell the system, allow Gmail users, or we would issue email addresses to all of our staff or learners and have them come in because they will be part of our team, so they will be able to get in. So there's a bit of restriction that way. But otherwise, a very neat tool. It allows you to create courses, send student assignments that they have to complete. Your students can return those assignments to you. You can grade their assignments. There's a whole process on how you can go through that. So more and more organizations are trying and exploring that, and then love it or hate it. So then they move on to another tool. But for some of the simplicity, it's one of the simpler learning management system tools. It does not have the same big grid for marking or grading as you may see in the other ones, but otherwise a good tool to use. So if you haven't tried it, try it. I know some of you are mentioning or asking about Classroom in the chat, so I suggest you take a closer look if you're interested. Okay, now I'm checking on time. It's 3:48. I just have one or two more things to mention to you, and I want to give you around 5 minutes for breakout room. So I just want to mention Google Calendar as one of the tools not to forget about, because in Google Calendar, you can share calendars with your team members. You can share calendars with your learners, but also you can embed them into our website. So I wanted to quickly show you how a literacy program in Prince Edward County took their Google Calendar, put all the upcoming events in there, and embedded it into their website so that students or visitors can see what's happening. So they don't have to go update the website, update the calendar separately. They update the calendar and it gets displayed on their website. So now, even just for that, that could be a great tool, but also working with others, scheduling, reminders, Google can be a fantastic tool for that. Okay, so Kathy, you're saying fantastic tool. I'm not going to even go into that into more detail, but if you are scheduling an event in your calendar, if you pay attention as you're going through the settings, you will select the date and time, you will select the topic and so on. As you scroll down, your Google Calendar will ask, do you want to add Google Meet to that? So it will build in the link for you. So when you send the invitation or include other people in your Google Calendar event, they will have the same Google Meet link. So they can just go to the calendar, click on that link, and they are meeting with you in Google Meet. It's built in into your calendar. You may not have noticed that, but it's there for you. So awesome. And I use Google Calendar personally a lot. I have it on my phone, and my work email is feeding into the same one. So it's work calendar. So I have two calendars displaying on my phone, and I can see, okay, at 2 o'clock, I have a work meeting, but at 3, I have a dentist. So I cannot book myself for the, during the 3 o'clock time slot. So it helps that way as well. So I can see many of you are liking the Google Calendar, so that's awesome. In your Google Classroom, there's also Google Calendar built in to help your student keep track of the assignments you're giving them through your Google Classroom. Okay. The last thing is YouTube. And I'm bringing it up because YouTube is part of your Google account. So anyone who has a Gmail account actually automatically has a YouTube account. Again, you may have noticed that or not, but when you go to YouTube, you could subscribe to other channels. You yourself can upload videos, and the channel is basically like a face view or point for you or your organization. And you can have multiple channels, almost like pages for your YouTube, where you can be on one channel, you could be you as personal person who loves gardening. On another channel, you could be, you can have another channel about cars and so on. So you're not restricted to only one type of account. YouTube will allow you to have more than one. But the main idea is that you can have one for your organization with videos you create and upload, but also you can pin or subscribe to other channels to see what other channels are doing in terms of videos. If there's something new, you will get notification. And finally, if I go to Bob Rambo's website and they have amazing videos, I can add them to my playlist on my channel. So it's easy for me to see. And as an organization, if I add it to the playlist for the organization, others can see those videos, which means you don't have to create all the videos on YouTube. You can actually find very good videos from Khan Academy, GCF Learn Free, and create collections on your channel and share that with your students so they will have one place to go and you're updating it as you're finding new and amazing content to share. Again, part of your Google account, okay? So lots of great things there. So again, I'm not going to jump into all that, but I know many of you are looking at my driver's license, all kinds of different tests, the PLAR and so on. A lot of YouTube videos, you could organize that content for your learners in there. And you can live stream. So we are not doing this with Zoom right now, but if you go back to your Zoom settings, the system says you can actually live stream. So you could connect your YouTube account to Zoom. And this session today, if we chose, we could have live streamed it to YouTube. So YouTube users could go in and watch it through YouTube, and it would actually get recorded and saved in YouTube as well. So a lot of connections between different accounts and so on. So it's amazing how you can connect that. Okay, perfect. All right. So yes, Julie is saying you had a Google Meet with 3 people and went for over 2 hours. Same with me. Like in Google Meet, I was in longer sessions than 1 hour for sure, and we were not restricted. But Google may be restricting that just because of how many users are using it. So worth checking, just to be sure. Okay, so to summarize, I really just want to summarize all this for you. And I want you to think of Google applications as a toolkit. Don't feel pressured that you have to use all of them. But if you really look at them in more detail, There's so many things and features you can use, and in combination, they can be amazing kit and resources for you and your learners. So keep that in mind. Keep some of those interesting different applications in your back pocket. If you need them, try them, use them, see what works for you and your students. Okay, so we are 3:53. I know we have to wrap up at 4, but I really want to give you just 5 minutes to jump into this breakout room. But also, the reason for that is that I know in the last session, some of you really struggled with going to the breakout rooms. So another lesson for you before we wrap up for today, how do you go to the breakout room? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop screen sharing. Okay, so you will see me again, and I'm going to go and set out a breakout rooms. We have around 40 participants. So I'm going to say we are going to have around how many? 40, 20. I'm going to set up 20 breakout rooms, and I'm going to allow you to create and join the room. But before I do that, I'm going to jump back to the breakout room. So my breakout rooms is ready. And I want to show you that if you click on your Zoom, if you look at the tools at the bottom, you will see something called breakout rooms. So when I launch the breakout rooms, some of you tell me you will get a pop-up telling you that they're breakout rooms, but some of you don't. If you don't get the pop-up, look for the icon for breakout rooms. And then when you click on that, you will see a list of rooms with a number next to it. You have to click on that number to have the option to join. So the number tells you how many people actually are in the room right now. And after you click on join, the system will say, yes, I want to join this room, and you can go in there and have a chat. So for the next 3-4 minutes, just jump in and then tell each other hello. And if you want to connect or use something, feel to do that. I know some of you may have to leave. So if you do that as well, that's okay. But I really want to give you a few minutes just so you can go into the breakout room. So if you have a chance, stay with us. I'm going to open it right now, and then I'll close it very soon as well. So those of you who want to try, you can try. If you don't want to, just basically go in and try that. So go in and see if you can join the breakout rooms, okay? They're open. You should get a pop-up if you want. If you don't want to stay a few more minutes, that's okay. I'll spend 2 minutes in the breakout room where you can chat with each other, and then I'll close them, okay? This is a chance for you to practice breakout rooms, okay? And if you are staying with me because you're not seeing the breakout rooms, I'm going to be very quiet and let one of you, if you want, talk about what will your takeaway be from our sessions about Google Apps. If you want to just mention 1 or 2 things that you notice will be interesting. If it's easier, I'll mute yourself now so you can chat with us in this room or jump to the other rooms, okay? All right, any volunteers who wants to say something? Take away from the Google Apps session.
Oh, it's Liz from Brand Skills. The Jamboard, didn't know.
Okay.
And I think that's amazing, especially to teach math, because teaching math is so hard because you can't always see what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly, right? So it's nice that you are able to kind of show some of those things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate that. I really do. Anybody else who wants to say something? Maybe something through our interpreters? Any volunteers?
Hi, Monica.
Yeah.
You are such an excellent teacher. I learned so much
No.
from your session. Very, very good. Yeah. And I can tell you really know the product. Like, have you had a lot of training yourself, or do you just play around with it?
I learned this is, I really don't take training. It's more from like, mistakes and lessons, or, people show me something and I try that way.
Good for you. Yeah.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
it's awesome. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Okay, one more person and we are going to close the breakout rooms. Any feedback, any suggestions, things that we haven't covered? Okay, I know it's almost 4 o'clock, so everybody wants to go. I totally get it. So I'm going to close the breakout rooms. That will bring those who went into the very brief breakout room today to come back. They will have around 60 seconds. So I'll just hold off with that until they come back. In the meantime, what I'm going to do is share the screen one more time, because this is the last slide that I just want to share with everyone. I'm going to copy the link address and paste the link to our feedback form into the chat. So it's going to be there for you when you are ready to fill out the feedback form. It will be sent to you as part of the follow-up as well, but I know sometimes it's just easier to do it right away. And as everybody's coming up, just 20 more seconds to come back for everyone. I will take this opportunity, and those of you who are in the room with me right now, I want to thank you, and then I really encourage you to try many of those tools. I always feel like there's not enough time. We could talk about them for hours and hours. Those of you who have tried them or who have amazing tips about them, feel free to email me. Send me information of what you did, how you did it, what worked. You know, that is the most exciting feedback we can get. And when we see that those tools are working for you and for your learners, right? Because that move to remote learning and teaching hasn't been easy for any of us. So it's something that we all are learning about and exploring as we go, right? Okay. So now that many of you came back to our session, I want to thank you for participating in today. I apologize that our breakout room was very, very quick and brief. But those of you who just went in and tried, I hope at least it reminded you how the breakout rooms work and how you can join them in Zoom. And as the last step for today, I really just want to make sure that you have the feedback form, which I posted in the chat for you. And then again, in the slides, so if you printed the slides earlier, if you go back to the same link to the slides from today's session, you don't have to print it, but you will be able to see that I added the links. So each session we did has a link, so you can go back and review them if you don't know where they are, or you can find them. And then feel free to contact me and Alpha Plus with any questions you have. I know MTML is organizing more showcases for you. The next one, I believe, is coming up in on June 16th. So remember that. And Alpha Plus ourselves, we are organizing a showcase. So some of the tools and how they're being used are used by instructors in the field, and they will be coming and sharing with the rest of the group and participants what works for them, what doesn't. Lots of great discussions. And our first session for that is June 22nd. So I included links to that in this slide. If you ever want to go back and register, please register. We hope you will come and share some of your feedback and ideas as well. And of course, the feedback. Don't forget to do the feedback as well, okay? So I'll post it one more time as the feedback form for you. I will post the address for the showcase if you're interested in that one. And I will also bring in and paste for you the link to MTML information about the other upcoming sessions. Lots of great things that MTML is organizing. And thank you to MTML and our interpreters for all the work you have been doing and for inviting us, and the pleasure of being able to do this work with you as well. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Monica. So on behalf of MTML and Ambreen and myself, thanks again for a wonderful workshop. And we look forward to doing some more. Next one is June 16th. So we'll have some more information sent out as well. Thank you, Monica. Thank you, interpreters. Thank you, participants. And enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Monica.
Thank you. Now, I know interpreters will have to leave, but if there's somebody who wants to stay just with a quick question and doesn't require interpreters, please let me know, and I'll just stick around until most of you leave so that I know there are no questions. But if you have questions, this is the time to ask. Okay.
Hi, Monica.
Hi.
It's Akila here. How are you?
Hi, Akila. I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. So after my last session with you, I created a form for the first time.
Yeah. Perfect.
And I send you a collaborator edit
Yes.
request. I don't know whether you got it or not.
I remember seeing one from you. If I didn't follow up, I apologize. I thought I
No
replied to
problem.
that.
As long as you got it.
Okay, I'll check again because I thought I followed up, but I might have missed it. So I'll check.
Okay.
Making a note.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Akila.
No problem. Thank you.
All right. So how many of you are still with us? 12 more.
There's about 12 of us.
Yes, so quick check for our interpreters and then those who need interpretation. Any questions from this group, just so that we can allow our interpreters to leave for the day.
I don't see anyone else.
Okay, all right, so that's good. Thank you so much to our interpreters, and I apologize for some of the issues at the beginning, but thank you for joining us and your patience with me as well.
All right, thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and then so we have 9 left. This is your last chance. We are going to close very soon. So if there's anything you need from us, let us know. Otherwise, we will be ending the session.
Monica, I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm teaching computer skills,
Okay.
and before the lockdown, we would have a computer lab, and everybody would be taught on Word, the full versions of Word, Excel, PowerPoint. So now that people are working at home, not many people actually have those tools. So I've had to transition into teaching both in Google Docs and in the Word Online. And I've done whichever people are using. Like, if people have
Yes.
have an Outlook account, then I've been doing Word Online.
Mhm.
The Google Docs, our materials are all in Word, so Word Online seems more transferable. But
Okay.
I've been having a lot of trouble with it. I find that it's hard to get on. It looks different on different people's computer. What it looks like on mine looks different than on other people's. And I'm just wondering, if I should be better off, in your opinion, having worked with both. Should I just switch over to Google Docs and forget about Word Online?
I would try. Again, this depends on your experience and your learner's experience, but with most of the Word documents will open with Google Docs. Some of the older ones may have a bit of issue just because of how old they may be, especially when it's worksheets and things like that. But if you switch them or just open them as a Google, you basically upload them to your drive and open them in a Google Doc, they should open. And from that time, your students will be able to either just view, if that's what you allow them to do, or even edit. So they will be able to write in it the way they will be working in the Word Online, right?
Yeah, well, I'm actually more teaching the skills, the word processing skills, right? And
Okay.
Excel skills. So it's choosing which, certainly the Word Online is closer to Word. So if they were going to hopefully get into an office job, they're probably better off using the Word Online. But I just find there seems to be so many frustrating things about it. I'm almost thinking just to teach them Google Sheets and Google Docs instead.
Yes, it's transitional skill. So one of the things I have been suggesting to the programs we work with is that, yes, Word and Excel are sort of the standards. We all are familiar and know them pretty well. But there's a shift. More and more organizations actually are switching and using Google products instead. So they stop using Word and Excel. They just start using Google Docs and Google Sheets, because most of the time it's the word processing. So documents and things like that, which can be done in both. And then Sheets is the same thing as Excel. So, a lot of things can be done in both. Of course, if you are going into accounting and you can have, higher jobs where banking, where you will be required to use those suites or productivity tools from Microsoft, then you want to know about Microsoft. But for most of the jobs and some of the basic as you're learning and starting, if that is not really a requirement for you, either one will work for you. And it will still allow you, because most of the programs we work with as instructors, it's more about, yes, it is formatting, creating, paragraph sections and so on, which both tools will allow you to do, right? If it's really about the features of Microsoft, like if this is Microsoft, you get certificate that you actually know Word, then it becomes a problem. And then you want to stick with Word. But otherwise, try it and see what kind of response you will get.
Thanks very much.
No problem. Really good question. So Akila, I'm going to follow up with you on your forms as soon as we disconnect. Susan, you're still here as well. Any questions from you? Or just speaking in and then listening in? Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, just listening to see if I learn anything else new.
Perfect. I'm glad that you stayed behind. So thank you so much for joining us. Both of you are still here. Georgina and I are the last coordinators for the session. So if that's okay with both of you, we are just going to end the session, process the recording so we can work through some of that as well. So we can wrap up the sessions and go from there.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Monica.
you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Georgina.
Bye, Monica. Thank you as always.
No problem. Thank you for that opportunity. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Enjoy the rest of the day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.